Comedian Judy Tenuta said, "My parents always told me I wouldn't amount to anything because I procrastinated so much. I told them, just you wait." Are you waiting to do something that's important to you? My dad waited. He thought he had time. My dad's goal, his dream, was to visit the national parks. He wanted to see Zion and Yellowstone, but he promised himself he would do that someday. He would do it when he would retire. But first, he had all these people to take care of, all these responsibilities. And so he worked 6 or 7 days a week for 40 years. And when he retired, he took off on that long deferred dream to visit the national parks. And a week later, he had a stroke in a hotel bathroom. My dad eventually recovered, but he never got to do what he always wanted to do. What is it you always wanted to do? What is a dream that you might be deferring? What is a passion project that could put the light on in your eyes and you're promising yourself you'll do it someday? Rene Ricard said tomorrow is another day, but so is yesterday. What will it take for us to have a wake-up call? You know, for me, my wake-up call came because of my son, Andrew Horn. Thank heaven for Andrew. I had just finished a very intensive consult down in Southern California, and Andrew called, and he must have sensed something in my voice because he said, "What's up, Mom?" And I said, "Andrew, I'm so exhausted. I don't know how I'm going to get on that plane tonight. I've got to catch a red-eye back to DC and then fly back to San Francisco in a couple of days to keynote a conference. I don't know how I'm going to do it." And Andrew said, "Mom, there's something about you I don't understand. Why are you working yourself to death? You have your own business. You could do things differently if you wanted to." Boy, out of the mouths of 20-somethings, huh? He didn't stop there. He said, "Why don't I book you into a hotel and you can stay there tonight and just fly up to San Francisco on Friday? And tomorrow, why don't you take a day of hooky? And why don't you think about your life and how you could do more of what you want now instead of later?" So I went to sleep an hour later with the sounds of the waves outside my open window. And the next morning I got up and I threw on my backpack and I went off exploring, and I was drawn to the Laguna Beach bookstore. And I went over to the shelves of the books by and for writers, and I'm leafing through Bird by Annie Lamott, and a voice wells up in me and whispers in my ear, "You are a writer. That's who you are. You're a writer." But see, I'd fallen victim to the consultant creative conundrum. I spent most of my time facilitating other people's work instead of focusing on my own. But I thought, what if I could have both? And so I went back to the hotel and I turned the desk to face the ocean and I wrote the rest of the afternoon, and I kept thinking, I love writing, I love the water, I want and need to work with clients. What if I could have it all? What if I could go on a year by the water? Now, I remembered what my mom said. She said, if you don't put a date on the calendar, it's not going to happen. So I thought, okay, what's the date? October 1st. I'm going on October 1st. And on October 1st, I set out on my year by the water. And I had an opportunity to swim with Zach the dolphin. And I sailed the Chesapeake Bay with Captain Jen. And I even went to Helen Keller's birthplace, and I put my hand under the very same water pump where she said her first word, water. Now, the thing is, people, when they hear about my year by the water, they would gaze wistfully off into space and they would say, someday I'm going to do something like that. And I would tell them someday is not a day in the week. And many of them would push back. They would say, you don't know my life. I've got responsibility. I learned on my year by the water is that we don't need more time, and we don't need more money, and we don't need more freedom. What we need are some shifts in mindset. Here's one of them. I bet you recognize that place. We're here in California at South Lake Tahoe, and of course that's the famous Pacific Coast Highway. Now that's during the day. And during the day, you can see ahead. You see, here's a 180-degree hairpin turn, and then you make another 90-degree turn the other way. I made a mistake. I didn't drive it during the day. I got there at dusk, and half an hour later, the sun was completely down, and there was no moon, and it was completely dark. In fact, it was so dark, I could not see anything beyond my headlights, and the road kept curving out from underneath my headlights, and I lost my equilibrium. I'm driving 15 miles an hour. I can do this, but it is a surreal experience. And then a truck zooms up behind me and honks his horn. And I did what I'd always been taught to do. I looked for some place to pull over, to let him go first, to let him go ahead. Oh, here's a pullover. And I pull over and I start braking, and it's gravel. And the more I brake, the more I slide. And I finally come to a stop a foot from the cliff's edge. And I sat there and I shook. And I thought, my lifelong habit of saying, oh no, you go ahead, you go first, almost cost me my life. Our strength, taken to an extreme, is our Achilles heel. And I think many of us have gotten very good at serving other people. No, you go ahead. You go first. We put everyone else first and ourselves last. We're taking ourselves out of our own story because we learned along the way it was selfish to do what we wanted, that the right thing to do is to take care of other people. And doing at least one thing a week that would put the light on in our eyes. We can do right now, right here, to figure out what that one thing might be that would put the light on in your eyes. Box number 1. Now, please think about whatever comes to mind first. Don't censor it, judge it, because often what comes up is gut instinct. It's giving you the answers to the test. So what are you doing in your life that you want to? Maybe what you're doing in your life that you want to in terms of health is you're walking every day. Maybe what you're doing in your life that you want to in terms of relationships is you're having date night with your spouse. Now let's go to the second box. What are you not doing that you want to? Maybe what you're not doing that you want to is to write a book or start a business or go back to school. Or maybe it's just to get an extra hour of sleep tonight. What are you not doing that you want to? Now go to box 3. What are you doing that you don't want to? Maybe you're spending hours a day on social media and it's become an addiction and you're doing it, but you really don't want to be doing it. Maybe you're working 60, 70 hours a week to a point of exhaustion. Maybe what you're doing that you don't want to is fighting with someone that you love. Now go to box 4. What are you not doing and you don't want to? Maybe you used to smoke, you quit, you don't do it anymore. Maybe you used to commute 2 hours a day and you hated it, so you moved into the city and you don't do it anymore and you don't want to do it again. So now let's interpret your responses to this happiness box. When you look at the first and the fourth box, that's what's right with your life. That's what's contributing to your quality of life. Now think about the answers in box 2 and 3. Box 2 or 3, what's not working in our life? Here's the question. How long? How long have you been doing those things you don't want to do? How long have you not been doing the things you want to do? How can we hold ourselves accountable for doing something different? Because I bet we've all been to conferences and we leave and we vow to do things differently, and then 2 weeks later, everything's back to same old, same old. Not tonight, not today. Will you vow to do one thing differently? Realize it is not selfish, it is smart. You are modeling to your loved ones that you matter, that you have need and interest, and that we can take care of others and take care of ourselves. And when you go to break, if you're here today or if you're watching this video, get out your digital device and put a date on the calendar right now of something that's important to you, something you've been thinking about, something you've been promising yourself you'll do someday. What is that one thing you're going to put on your calendar? What is that one thing you're going to do to put yourself back in your own story and understand it's not selfish, it's smart, it's not indulgent, it's inspiring. Next time you're about to procrastinate on something you care about, tell yourself out loud, I will never regret doing more of what's important to me. I will only regret not doing it sooner. Someday is not a day in the week.